Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Uncanceled on KCMO Talk Radio 95.7 FM. I'm Kevin Kietzman, in for the next hour, leading you up to the Vince Show on this President's Day, where we assume maybe some of you are doing a little bit of work, some of you maybe are not. However you've decided to join us today, we certainly appreciate it. Great show today by Pete Mundo of Mundo in the Morning. In 30 minutes, we're going to talk a little bit about the SAVE Act in D.C. and play a clip, if you missed it, earlier today from Mark Alford, the Missouri congressman who was on with Pete, talking about getting this done, and Anna Paulina Luna out of Florida that is all over this thing. She's trying to pressure John Thune to immediately get this to the Senate floor. We'll see how it plays out. Toward the end of the show, we had a couple of big events happen in sports over the weekend, including the great Michael Jordan. Apparently in the news for two things. I was only going to mention one, but Mark has one that I was unaware of something Michael Jordan did this weekend. So we've got that for you toward the end of the show. In just a few minutes, I'll talk a little bit about the debacle going on at Kansas State with Jerome Tang being fired as the coach there. But we start, it is President's Day, and I like to do this every year. Every time I get the chance, it is the easiest thing Trump could do, easier apparently than changing to permanent daylight saving time, because we haven't been able to do that yet. But we need to get there, and I know that there's some people that want to do it, and if we don't and it stays where it is, it's fine, whatever. Just don't take it completely away is my stance. But he gets involved in these things you don't really think of. Before Trump is out, we need to change President's Day to the Monday after the Super Bowl. Now, I believe next year, is there a Valentine's Day involved with the Super Bowl? I think there's Valentine's Day is maybe Monday or something, but nobody's off work for that. So in 1879, this started as a federal holiday, as Washington's birthday, which was a great reason to celebrate America's first president. And did you know it is not really President's Day? It is still to this day officially Washington's birthday. We just call it President's Day. We've changed it. It's jargon. It's lexicon. It's a slang. It's a term. This is actually the federal holiday today is Washington's birthday. But then some people said, hey, listen, what about Abe Lincoln? His was February 12th. Maybe we should be honoring him. And they said, well, let's just do it all on one day. And in 1968, they came up with the Uniform Monday Holiday Act, which set up President's Day, Memorial Day, and Labor Day, as we know, the Monday holidays. So this one is always officially the third Monday in February, and it lands between the 15th and the 21st every year. I don't understand. Listen, I'm great with President's Day. It's awesome. Our company that I'm doing the show today, the whole gang was in working today. We actually have this day off, and we're working. And that's okay. Nobody says you have to be off. But, boy, if this was the day after the Super Bowl, how does that change things? Why don't they move President's Day up a week and be done with this thing? And let's just figure it out. If it has to be the first Monday in February, then it's the first Monday. It's a February holiday. There's nothing special about the third Monday in February. There's got to be a better way to do this. And I just hear every year people constantly, and Americans in polling, would like to have Monday off after the Super Bowl. They have big events. It goes into the evening. I think they would actually play the Super Bowl maybe about an hour later at night on Sunday night if everybody had Monday off. I'm not positive about that. It'd be up to the NFL. A lot of times the networks like to debut a brand new show right after the Super Bowl. But what are we doing? Why do we have the Super Bowl and then turn around a couple weeks later and have President's Day on a Monday? Let's go ahead and make it a real holiday, a real one where people can feel good and just go ahead and take it off. Unless you work in sports radio or your team is in the Super Bowl or whatever, you can take the Monday after the Super Bowl off. I think that's a fantastic idea. And maybe in a few moments you'd like to share your thoughts. Maybe you think I'm absolutely loony on this one. Okay, we had a story happen in sports on Sunday evening that is just so profoundly insane and stupid at Kansas State, I can't see straight. Jerome Tang made some really stupid comments about 10 days ago, I think it was, about his players. It was a terrible look. Maybe he was actually right in what he said. I don't think so, because he blamed everyone. And he said he felt bad for the fans, and he was embarrassed for the fans. He was embarrassed for the players. He was going to make them run steps at 6 a.m. There was going to be punishment for the effort that they gave getting pounded by Cincinnati. He went over and over and over about how bad his players are and what he's going to do about it. And it was embarrassing as all get out. Okay, it embarrassed the entire university, but mostly it was embarrassing for Jerome Tang, because at no point did he say, wow, I'm just not doing a very good job. Or at no point did he say, you know what, I probably shouldn't be a college basketball coach. I should start a Christian ministry. because his faith is very important to him, and he's a fine man. He just is not a fine basketball. Never was. That's why he sat at Baylor on the bench for 19 years and nobody hired him. Until Gene Taylor at K-State thinks, oh, there's this hidden gem older guy that's been squatting at the end of the bench at Baylor for 19 years. Let's do this. It was a terrible hire from day one. I made so many enemies at Kansas State and others in the media. They just got all over me saying this is a terrible hire. Bruce Weber is better than this guy. Everybody laughed at me. They had their year of fun as K-State went to the Elite Eight the first year. You had Bruce Weber's players there. His point guard was a stud, and he made it to the Elite Eight, not doing much coaching, just a bunch of players that had played with each other, and here they went. I said it's not going to last. I'm telling you, it's not going to last, and it didn't. They signed him to a new contract after that. Then, unbelievably, after missing the NCAA tournament, it's rumored that he's going to take the Arkansas job. Arkansas hires John Calipari, like they were ever going to hire Jerome Tang instead of Calipari. So Gene Taylor gives him another contract extension. And now 3 years in a row, no tournament, last place in the Big 12, worst team in the league with a bullet, not even close. Taylor's trying to save his own ass because Gene Taylor, the AD, should have been fired before the basketball coach. Now here's the puddle of mud Kansas State basketball is stuck in. This is a complete disaster, folks. Think about it as any business. Forget the sports component. You like business. A lot of folks that listen to KCMO Talk Radio like business or finances or whatever. You're running a business, and you've got a key employee that's just not any good at what they do. And you're the boss, and all you've done repeatedly for 4 years is stick your neck on the line for this person. And you have overspent and overspent and overspent, and you've made an $18 million mistake at your company as the boss, and yet everybody thinks that the person you hired should be the one that gets fired? Who in what business is allowed to make an $18 million mistake, just dead flat loss, and survive that? I can't even believe anybody at Kansas State went along with Gene Taylor on this, because let me tell you the truth of what happened. He fired Jerome Tang because he was going to get fired. If this thing played out, there was no way that Gene Taylor could say, I'm sticking with this coach, because then Gene Taylor's fired. All right? But now what he's done, there's this thing that shows ranking the Big 12 by job, who's number 1, who's number 16, by what the best job is. Kansas State, pretty consistently, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10th best job in the Big 12 in college basketball. I'm sorry, dead last right now. Dead last. If you are a basketball coach and an athletic director just fired his coach for cause, which means they're not going to pay the $18 million they owe him, for cause, for making public comments about his players. All right, and I've read the paragraph in the contract. It says embarrassment for the coach or embarrassment for the university or in a bad light, whatever. He's done that. And I'm not making I think what Jerome Tang, it's all fireable. It was a fireable offense. His coaching ability the last 3 years has been a fireable offense. It's all been a fireable offense. But when you fire somebody, you have to pay off the contract. Okay? And now Kansas State is telling every other coach in the country, we're the school that's going to screw you over if this doesn't go well. Well, I'm right here. I'm Gene Taylor. They're not going to get rid of me. Watch this. You come in here and work for me, and if you screw me over and start losing, I'll fire you and not pay you either. That's the message you're sending to prospective coaches? You got no chance of getting a great coach. Zero. You have nothing but a home run, put a blindfold on and swing at the piñata swing. That's all you got, and hope some candy falls out. That's where you are. You're going to have to find either some young coach with a very thin resume or some old retreaded coach that's been around forever that just wants to coach a couple more years. Who wants this job after what Gene Taylor just did to Jerome Tang? And by the way, my prediction stands. I've predicted Gene Taylor will not be the athletic director at Kansas State for their first football game in September. I've predicted that, okay? He's an older dude. The whole thing's changing. This has been the strangest year ever. His best friend was the football coach who just apparently walked away and orchestrated the next coach to come in, and there was no buyout there. But now you got $18 million with Gene Taylor, and Gene Taylor's running around saying that they're broke, they don't have any money, they can't afford to do this, they can't afford to do that. That's all we're hearing from Kansas State. And so what did they do? We're going to fire you for cause, Jerome Tang, and if you want to sue us, we'll fight this thing out over 3 or 4 years and let it be tied up in court. And what's going to happen, I can predict this. Jerome Tang has $18 million coming. He'll probably take half that. And Kansas State should jump on that and pay that. It's still pathetic and wrong. And let me say this, and I don't like to put my alumni, K-State alumni hat on or anything like that. But let me say this. There's something I know about people that went to K-State. There is a conservative, honest, firm handshake goodness to the people that I know that went to Kansas State. And this reeks of anything but that. This reeks of some stupid school that thinks they can get away with something, and our lawyers are better than yours, and they're on retainer, and we're not going to pay you, and screw you, Jerome Tang. We're not worth our word. You're not worth your word. You're not worth the contract you signed. You signed a contract with a dude, and you're walking away from it. This is a bad look for Kansas State. This is a horrible look for Gene Taylor. He only did this because he was going to get fired. That what they should have done was fire Gene Taylor. It doesn't cost anything. The president of the university, this guy, must not have any moxie at all. Must be some dyed-in-the-wool academic dude that doesn't understand business. You fired the wrong guy. You needed to fire Gene Taylor, bring a new athletic director in, suck it up with Tang for at least one more year and finish last again. Don't buy him any players, and let your new athletic director chart a new course for the athletic department and scour the country for the next coach. Because if I'm a basketball coach, I am not working for Gene Taylor. Why would you sign a contract with clowns that are turning around? I'm telling you, this ripple effect, the story here is what other head coaches and assistant coaches around the country right now are saying about Gene Taylor in Kansas State. It is shocking to people that they're doing this. This is not a coach in a scandal. It's not some knocked up some girl who had an extramarital affair or 3 DUIs or any of that stuff. That's not what this is. This is you made some comments after a game where there wasn't even any bad language, by the way. He doesn't curse. He thanked his Lord and Savior Jesus Christ before throwing his players under the bus or taking any responsibility for it. And it was bad. It's all a fireable offense. There are two different things here. A fireable offense can be true, and that's true in this case. Jerome Tang has deserved to be fired for a long time, but you got to pay him. You can't go back on the contract and just say you're going to fight somebody in court to try to screw him out of the millions that you were the idiot that signed. Gene Taylor needs to pay for this. It should come out of his check if he stays. This is this is one of the most unique and 41 years I've been covering sports in Kansas City. I've never seen anything like the way Chris Kleiman just left as the football coach and Jerome Tang is out as the basketball coach. I've never, ever seen anything like this. It is a disaster in Manhattan right now for Gene Taylor. All right, we got a lot of news stories ahead today, too. If you want to comment on that or the President's Day moving to the day after the Super Bowl, we'll open the phone lines. 913-408-7957. Our number to call, that's 913-408-7957. This is Uncanceled on KCMO Talk Radio.
From Lawrence to Leavenworth, it's Kevin Kietzman, Uncanceled, on 95.7 FM KCMO Talk Radio.
We are back on a President's Day Monday on Uncanceled on KCMO Talk Radio. Coming up in just a little bit, we're going to talk a little bit more about the SAVE Act. I'll play a clip from Mark Alford earlier today with Pete Mundo and the number of people on the Republican side that are trying to push John Thune into this is growing, and that is a good thing. Right now we're going to the phones. 913-408-7957 if you'd like to give me a holler. We start with Greg in Lenexa on this Monday. Hi, Greg. How are you this morning?
Hey, Kevin. I'm doing pretty good. I grew up in Illinois, by the way, so we always celebrated Lincoln's birthday.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, on this K-State thing, I kind of think the argument's a little weak. And how quickly things turn so fast from just a few weeks ago when they had all kinds of signs inside Bramlin's Coliseum saying, we own this state. And then the students with bags on their head just a couple of days ago at the Cincinnati game. And I really think the optics of that is what sparked the change at least as much as the comments that Jerome Tang had. I don't think K-State liked the optics of that. It went viral, obviously, by ESPN and all that stuff. And I think the argument that they're using about embarrassing and ridiculing the university is a little weak. I mean, like you said, he didn't say anything bad, vulgar, or anything like that. He just kind of made some comments like, hey, I'm embarrassed by how he played today. Jerome Tang, I think, is going to have a good argument on his side. They're going to fight it out. But I really think it's amazing how quickly the tide turns with the students saying, we own this state, and now they had the bag to their head.
Well, they did this. They were organizing a big thing. I think it's tomorrow night. They play Baylor. They were organizing a really big, embarrassing event tomorrow night if Jerome Tang was still the coach. So the students, and I'm guessing the players also went to the AD and said, we've had it with this guy. They might have threatened to walk. We may actually learn that they might have threatened to all just quit and take their money and go home because they've already been paid, and they may have just locked down the season. Now, if that's the case, that may change things entirely. I don't know. But I was talking to my wife earlier today. If there's a clause, first of all, what agent, what lawyer is going to have a coach sign something that says something that embarrasses himself or the university? Finishing last is embarrassing, okay? So, I mean, you could be a perfect gentleman and do everything right, and if you finish last, you've still embarrassed yourself, technically. Yeah. So, look, the whole thing is lame by Gene Taylor's part, and I've told my friends this for years. Occasionally I'll say it on the air. You have to be really careful. People who are in charge in sports, and this would be Andy Reid, Brett Veach with the Chiefs, Matt Quintero, J.J. Piccolo with the Royals, or ADs at KU, K-State, Missouri, when they make decisions, okay, this is really important. When they make decisions, they're always making decisions for their own career. Always. And you may not see it. Obviously, Brett Veach was the most responsible person for getting Patrick Mahomes drafted. And how'd that work out for his career? He was a little-known nobody on the staff and became general manager of a team because he hit on Mahomes. You're always looking out for your career with every move you make, and that's all this was with Gene Taylor in broad daylight telling everybody, I'm trying to survive here and work another year or two to pay for my fancy house out in Arizona or whatever. I got to hang on to myself for another year or two, so I'm going to get rid of him before they get rid of me. That's all this was.
Well, it's pretty obvious that you kind of have it out for Gene Taylor, which is fine. I mean, you're getting strong on that.
No, wait a second. I still own an auction certificate to play a round of golf with Gene Taylor. I've liked him so much. When I've been around him, he's a good man. I don't care, okay? I want everybody to know what it is that I do for a living, all right? I'm not going to be friends with these people that run these teams. I've never been like that. I like him. He's a really good dude, and people around K-State really like him, and he's fun to be around. He's just terrible at this. This is totally botched. Nobody's ever done anything this bad. This is awful.
I understand your point. What I thought was funny is on your podcast, you said, just keep Jerome Tang around for another year, but I'm not going to pay that much attention to it. I'll check about the score every now and then, which to me was apathy. So you kind of had the apathy set in for you personally. And
right, but who did that? Whose fault is that?
No, I'm just saying whose fault it is. I'm just saying I think you'd rather be apathetic than face the music, and now they're facing the music and say, hey, we've got to do something about it.
That's exactly right. Apathy for a year with Jerome Tang finishing last again would have been better than this. And Taylor out and a new AD in to find the next basketball coach. Again, who wants Gene Taylor to hire them? Nobody. He's just proven that he's not worthy of his word.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a tough sell. I think he's, it moved more from his desk to a desk above him, and maybe he just had to do something about it, and he's the face of it at this point in time.
Greg, I'm a radio host, and I don't think I'd take the job under Gene Taylor.
Well, anyway, I thought it was funny that after the excessive celebration, but it was a celebration in the KU locker room after they won. You said, "Hey, man, come on, K-State football, you got to rescue us." So it's kind of funny how you play the basketball versus the football programs too.
Yeah, I don't know. When did I say K-State football has to rescue what?
Well, on your Instagram, on your Twitter post after the KU had their celebration in the locker room after they beat them, which I kind of thought it was private, shouldn't have been publicly shown. But anyway, you said, "Come on, K-State football, please help us out here." Okay.
Yeah, good enough. I think that'll take care of itself. It seems to have done that for a long, long time. All right. Appreciate the call, Greg. Thank you. I'm not sure I knew exactly where he was going there, but that is all good. Hey, I figured out my favorite thing in the Olympics, Mark, you're going to love this,
All right.
is getting on FanDuel and betting against Eileen Gu. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Did you see her latest?
I missed her latest one.
Okay, so Eileen Gu is the rich American girl from San Francisco that goes to Stanford that took a bunch of money from China because her mom was from China so she could be on their team and make more money, and she's skiing as a Chinese athlete. She's now complaining that the Olympics rules people have screwed her over because she's in 3 events, and they're not giving her enough time to practice for those 3 events. She says, quote, "I'm disappointed. They need to do something beyond ordinary with what I'm trying to do here." She wants special rules for herself now at the Olympics. Special rules. It's unbelievable. Special rules is what she wants. The Olympics responded by saying, conflict is inevitable if you're trying to compete in 3 sports at one time, and that's true. I am getting on FanDuel and betting against Eileen Gu. Uncanceled continues on KCMO.
Vince Colonnese here, and I'm coming up at 11 after Kevin Kietzman on 95.7 FM KCMO Talk Radio.
You know, I got to admit, I'm getting a little bit bored with the coverage of the Nancy Guthrie disappearance, we'll call it. We don't know if it was an abduction, a murder, or we don't know exactly what it is at this point, but I read something that was really shocked me this morning. It's not gone very well for Sheriff Nanos, who's clearly on the ropes in Pima County, Arizona. And I don't know exactly what the FBI is doing or wants to do or how much they want to control this. You heard me say last week, I think they should just pull out and let the local officials botch this all they want if that's what they're going to do. It's awful late in the game for anyone to believe that Nancy Guthrie is still alive. It doesn't seem like that now. It seems like this is probably going to be a homicide, and we've heard many FBI experts say, no, when something like this happens, they'll probably never find the body. This could just be a disappearance and doesn't get resolved. He said over the weekend that he's going to stay on this even if it takes years to figure it out. Well, that's probably not a great message coming from the sheriff that's running the investigation, but that's not really what grabbed my eye. What grabbed my eye was the FBI apparently has the one glove, the first glove or whatever was found. They have the one glove that has unknown male DNA on it, and it's not like the other gloves. And I was like, other gloves? They have picked up 16 gloves, black gloves in the area, and guess what most of them are? Most of them are gloves that searchers took off and just trashed on the ground. They're walking around in the desert, they're looking for something and leaving stuff behind. Of all the things I've heard in this case, the only thing that was more shocking to me was the blood on the porch that a reporter was literally walking on and taking pictures of and posting on the internet. But now we have the official people looking for clues, taking their gloves off and throwing them on the ground in the middle of the desert. I'm lost on this. How do they have 16 gloves that they have recovered and found? It's just, are they blowing away? What am I missing? This is really bad. This is a really, really, really bad investigation taking place near Tucson, Arizona. I'm a big fan of Anna Paulina Luna from Florida. She is all over John Thune. She went on the Sunday shows this weekend, is on John Thune saying he needs to immediately, in the Senate, call to the floor a vote and get this done. Senator Susan Collins became Republican number 50 on board with the SAVE Act. That means they can officially pass this right now. All they have to do is do the standing filibuster, let the Democrats each get their 2 hours of time or whatever they want to stand there and try to make them stand there and tell America why they don't want you to have voter ID. I'll be interested to hear those speeches. This is an 84% issue in the United States, and Anna Paulina Luna made a very strong point about that this has been decided by the American people. And it's exactly what I said last week. If the Republicans can't get this done, they're never getting anything meaningful done. They're just not going to, because they have 70% of Democrats on their side on this one. This is the one where you take the most extreme measure and you make sure you did it, and then you remind Americans that you did something that's an everyday part of all of our lives, and that's showing our ID. Everywhere that we go, we prove who we are for various reasons. And you know what? I always thank people, especially if occasionally I'll use a credit card to buy something, and they'll still every now and then say, "Can I see your ID?" And I'll say, "Yes, thank you. Appreciate that." That means it's not some stranger that I lost my card that's out racking up stuff on my credit card. I do appreciate that. I have no problem showing my ID. If I want to remain private and not have any, I'll just stay home. I'll close the curtains, turn off the lights, and stay home. Have all the privacy I want. But when you're out living your life, no, it's good to know who's where and what they're doing, and I think everybody's on board with that. So we'll see if they're going to do this standing filibuster. I think it needs to happen. John Thune seems incredibly weak to me on this thing, but Mark Alford is not. And he was on with Pete Mundo earlier today on Mundo in the Morning, and he's been all over this for quite a while, and I'm 100% with Mark Alford. Here's his thoughts on getting this done.
Certainly hope so. I think this is going to be one of the most pressing issues, especially for young voters. If we don't do something like this and we make sure that our elections have integrity and are protected, then people are not going to turn out in the numbers that we need them to, because they will not trust the system. And that's just a simple fact, especially in an off year, a non-presidential election year. We've got to have the voter turnout, so we have to secure our elections. And that's what we're doing with the Save America Act. We passed it in the House this last week, went over to the Senate, It does two things primarily. It's mirrored after a bill that we already passed last year and the year before that called the SAVE Act, Chip Roy's bill, which would make sure that if you are registering to vote in America for a federal election anyway, you've got to make sure that you've got to prove that you're a U.S. citizen, okay? And there are simple ways to do that. A lot of people are throwing fear-mongering out there saying it's going to put a hardship, that it's racist, that it's Jim Crow 2.0, which is nonsense. Prove you're a citizen to register to vote. Number two, when you go to the polls, and this is what President Trump added and why he wanted to call it Save America Act, you've got to show an ID, a photo ID, government-issued photo ID when you go to the polls, and that is not a poll tax. You can get a government ID, and if you can get a ride to the polls to vote, you can get a ride to the DMV or wherever to get your government-issued ID. It's very simple. Secure the elections. Make sure only those who should be voting in our elections are voting in our elections.
All right, there's Congressman Mark Alford, and how could anybody disagree with that? Most Americans don't. Only some unhinged folks believe that. Now, when you say you got to prove who you are, it might sound as easy as a driver's license. We can't do that. There's too many states out there giving driver's licenses to people that are not citizens. They've got them everywhere. Commercial driver's licenses, truckers all over the road are not citizens. So you're going to have to go on your own somehow to wherever it is that you register and do and prove it to get your ID and to be in the registry. So once you're in the registry, having proven your citizenship, then you can use your driver's license or anything you like to prove that yes, this is me checking in, but I'm in there. But in order to get on the rolls, you're going to have to go and prove citizenship to do that. And we just haven't done this. We haven't required this. We've been so sloppy and lazy about this. And when I say we, I'm talking about conservatives. They've just allowed the Democrats to do all these things through the years. And it just seems like it continues and goes on and on and on at so many levels. So I'm hopeful this gets done. It has to be done before the midterms. Or you can probably forget about it. I had a note earlier today to make sure and mention Scott Fitzpatrick on the show today. He's the Missouri State Auditor who wrote a guest column in the Kansas City Star this weekend to talk about the piece that he wrote, and then Pete had him on his show. And it was a great listen. Go to the podcast page if you want to listen to that and hear his thoughts. But basically, the headline of the story from the Missouri State Auditor is, "Thanks, Kansas taxpayers, for taking the Chiefs from us." And it's exactly what I've said since the day of the announcement. The second Missouri people came unhinged that they were moving across to Kansas, like you had lost a long-lost loved one is dead or gone or missing or whatever. No, it can't be both things. You can't celebrate in Kansas and be mad in Missouri about something that they're celebrating in Kansas. I didn't get it. They're making literally people that are so disappointed that they've left Missouri are making fun of Kansas that they overspent and all this other stuff. I'm like, well, then celebrate. Thank a Kansan. When you see a Kansan, thank a Kansan for taking the Chiefs off your hand. They didn't go anywhere. They're not changing the uniforms. They're not changing the name. There's going to be a new stadium. It's going to be across a river from you now. That's all. It's going to be in your town. It's still going to be on TV every Sunday. You're going to be able to go to games. It's all the same, and you don't have to pay for it. And your 3/8 sales tax in Jackson County is going to go away. That's going to be a nice little boost. Remember, taxes never go away? Jackson County, your taxes are going away. So if you haven't read it, go read Scott Fitzpatrick's piece, the Missouri State Auditor, who said, "Thanks, Kansas taxpayers." And I'm glad finally somebody sees it the way I saw it. Missourians should be jumping up and down with joy. If they think Kansas overpaid and the whole thing was a scam, they should be jumping up and down for joy, no doubt about it. Trump had quite a foursome on the golf course this weekend. He played with legendary football coach Nick Saban recently, Urban Meyer, and the fourth was Ron DeSantis. Wait, what? We thought Trump and DeSantis were enemies for life, right? Because he primaried him and came after him and all this other stuff. DeSantis wanted to run for president. Well, DeSantis is out as governor within a year. This is the last year of his term, and he's out. But there'll still be 2 more years of Donald Trump in the White House. And most people believe, well, first of all, let me say this. I'm hopeful that their golf round was not about some discussion of how to fix college football and make Ron DeSantis the college football czar. Okay? That would be a waste of Ron DeSantis. But most people think Trump is now in a position where when DeSantis is out as governor, he's going to bring him into the cabinet in some capacity, maybe with a wrecking ball, because DeSantis is really good at getting things done and demonstrating a soft touch. He has that nuance to him that when he does something that lights the other side's hair on fire, he just stands there in a calm way and is likable and everything's okay. And you're like a completely opposite demeanor of Trump, that maybe he'll be coming in to handle some of that. I don't know, but they obviously have college football in common. That'd be quite a foursome. Trump, Saban, Meyer, and DeSantis, that would be a good day to be the Secret Service agent. That really would be. Just to hear what they're talking about and see what that would be like would be pretty darn interesting. So I'm optimistic that, maybe Trump's going to do this. Is there a chance that he's just going to spend the next couple of years vetting a person that he's going to endorse? Because if he endorses somebody for president in the primary, then it's done. That person will win the primaries. That will be the candidate. Is he going to spend time with DeSantis and Rubio and JD and try to figure out which one he's endorsing? Or is he setting this up to be, hey, I'm going to stand back out of this thing and let the voters decide until that person is nominated? I really don't know what he's going to do. I don't. I don't think he wants to pick between Rubio and JD right now. I think he loves them both, and he might be on the path to looking at DeSantis. And you can make an argument that if he became president, DeSantis might be the most qualified and the best executive of the bunch. It's absolutely possible. We got this little gem over the weekend. A podcast by a guy named Brian Cohen happened with President Obama. And he did a lightning round. This is where you ask something really. There is no lightning in Barack Obama. He speaks very slowly when he speaks. So there's no lightning round with Barack Obama, but he was trying to do the lightning round. And it wasn't even, it's a yes or no question. Aliens, yes or no? And Obama said, oh yeah, there's aliens, but there's no conspiracy theories. There's no Area 51. There's nothing hidden unless they hid it from the president, and I don't think that happened. He said the odds are good that there's alien life, and then there was no follow-up. And the whole world is like, he just went on in his lightning round and asked, what color's the sky? Everyone's like, wait, Brian Cohen, you had a former president just say, I don't think any president or former president has ever said they believe that we have other life here or aliens. Most people are treating like this is the first president to ever come out and say this, that Obama believes there are aliens. I'm not even disagreeing with him. I think he's right. The odds are that the universe is so big and vast that there's something somewhere else, and maybe someday they'll get here. Maybe not. Maybe we're the most advanced, but maybe we're a million years behind somebody else. I don't know. There's no way of knowing, and it's a great mystery. But Barack Obama believes there are aliens, and he didn't follow up with any question. Like, okay, wait, like what? What do you know? What are these flashing lights that our pilots keep seeing? What are these objects? We have videos in the sky that we just really don't know what they are. There's none of that. There was no follow-up. So get ready for the news over the next week or two. The next time Obama sits down with somebody, it's going to be 10 minutes on aliens. There you go. And we had this from a panel discussion. I didn't even know she was doing things like panel discussions anymore. Hillary Clinton got out in public, and she's sitting on this panel, and she's sitting next to a conservative, a pretty smart guy, and she's not letting him talk, and he's not having it. But the whole discussion was about immigration and migration and what's going on around the world. And she said migration is, quote, disruptive and destabilizing. She was bad-mouthing migration, saying we need a total overhaul, but we can't be cruel like Trump. I mean, I really don't have it in me to say a whole lot of good things about Hillary Clinton. She still owes me money from a time she showed up at Channel 4 when I was working there in the 90s, and she didn't have an earpiece to put in so she could appear via satellite at a fundraiser. And I told the handler with her, I said, I'll rent it to her for $500. They said, okay, just give me the darn thing. I said, shake my hand. And the lady shook my hand, and I sent him an invoice. I never got paid my $500. I mean, I know that was a high price, but she didn't have an earpiece. She was not going to be able to appear on the fundraiser unless somebody gave her an earpiece. And I was the only one standing there with an earpiece, and she was getting ready to go on. So I haven't liked her. Well, there's a lot of reasons I don't like her, but I really don't like her because of that. But Hillary Clinton saying that this is a disruptive and destabilizing thing, that's music to my ears. Maybe the whole party should be thinking that way. All right, we come back. We got a lot to dive in with Mark, including, it's a baby boom at the Kansas City Zoo. Those are always fun stories. And Michael Jordan, 2 stories of Michael Jordan this weekend, one for me and one for Mark, next on KCMO.
From Gladstone to Gardner, it's Kevin Kietzman, Uncanceled, on 95.7 FM KCMO Talk Radio.
Mark, did you hear there's a baby boom at the Kansas City Zoo?
I did not hear that.
Okay, we have something called the Maasai, M-A-S-A-I, Maasai giraffe. It is an endangered breed or species of giraffe, or however you categorize it. So the Maasai giraffe is endangered. They have had 3 calves born in the last 4 months at the Kansas City Zoo. We got Nora, a couple of weeks ago, a little over a week ago. Nora was born at the Kansas City Zoo. 3 Maasai calves. I guess that's a really big deal. So I don't know what's going on out there with the giraffes, but
I think we know what's going on with the giraffes.
yeah, I think we know. Yeah, I think we know, and it's working out. I think they're really pleased that this is happening because I guess they're endangered and they're pretty special at the Kansas City Zoo. Maybe we should think about sending people to go check that out.
I like giraffes.
My wife and her family had some friends that had giraffes, or camels, I'm sorry, and they had a kind of a farmstead in Overland Park before it got built up, and they used to go pet them and kind of have fun with them and all kinds of stuff. There's something about the bigger animals that it's dangerous. You got to be careful now because they'll hurt you.
Oh, yeah.
They're bigger than you are, but there's just something really when you're around those bigger animals, it's just crazy. You feel pretty small, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. At the Omaha Zoo, they let you feed the giraffes like apples and stuff. It's kind of cool.
Apparently, when I was little, and I don't remember this, we went to a place called Grant's Farm. I think that was in St. Louis. Was it near the brewery or something? When I was maybe 3 years old or something, and I thought a goat was attacking me. I had the cup or the ice cream cone full of the whatever you feed the goats.
Oh, yeah.
And I apparently completely freaked out and ran and screamed and the whole thing. I don't remember it. But if you're so little you don't remember it, just about anything would terrify you, right?
Oh, yeah.
Should I be afraid of, if I take the grandbaby at some point around Michael Jordan, should I be afraid of this?
Maybe. I don't know.
First of all, Michael Jordan is the team owner of Tyler Reddick, who won Daytona. Michael Jordan's had a big year. He sued NASCAR, and they settled the suit, which means he essentially won his lawsuit against NASCAR. Now, as the team owner, he just won the Daytona 500 with Reddick as his driver, but everybody's talking about what happened afterwards, and I haven't seen this. Can you tell me what happened?
So apparently they go up on the stand, everybody, the family's there and everything like that. And I think it's the driver's son is standing there and Jordan is trying to get his attention or something, but he's pinching his butt. It's very awkward, very weird. I don't know why Jordan's doing this. And the kid still doesn't look at him. So then he starts like rubbing his leg. I don't know. It's very weird.
I need to see this.
Oh, man. Yeah, I'll text it to you.
On the 1 to 10 weird scale.
It's a 10. It is. It's a 10.
Is that weird?
Yeah. It's very Let's Go Brandon-esque.
Oh my goodness, that's crazy. Well, Congratulations to Tyler Reddick. That was a wild finish yesterday. You know, he finished second last year, so apparently Daytona's his thing. And good for Michael. You know, Michael Jordan's needed some good things to happen in his life, Mark.
Yeah, nothing ever goes wrong in his life.
Good for Michael Jordan to win the Daytona 500. Not a good. We talked at the start of the show about the debacle that is K-State basketball. It was not a good weekend for KU and MU. I think I was more surprised by the MU outcome getting drilled by Texas than the KU one, because that can happen in Ames. Mm-hmm. Any thoughts on what you and I were just loving up the Tigers last week, and then they do that?
Yeah, that was rough for the Tigers. I thought KU could maybe pull it out, but, I mean, Iowa State still hasn't lost at home this year, so that wasn't too much of a surprise. Yeah, the Missouri one's more of a surprise to me.
All right, and are you disappointed in me that I'm not making a bigger deal of 3 top 10 soccer teams coming to Kansas City for the World Cup this summer? I guess this was quite the feat to pull this off.
You know, if you're not a huge soccer fan, it's not like a huge thing. But for worldwide, it is a big deal. So,
I mean, these are really good squads. Did you read Sam McDowell's piece at the Star on what the clincher was for Argentina to come here?
I did not.
He wrote the story. Apparently, they said, do you want to go out for Latin food? What kind of cuisine? What do you want to eat? And they're like, we want to go out for barbecue. We want to go out for Kansas City barbecue and see what that's all about. And they fell in love with it, had the greatest experience. And do you know which place it was?
Was it Q39?
It was Jack Stack Freight House.
Okay, that's a good spot.
Which is just massive. It's huge. And I could see where you'd go down there by the train station and everything and be really impressed that barbecue is in there. It's also just really, really, really great barbecue. So I guess our kudos to the folks at Jack Stack. Makes me hungry, Mark.
Oh, yeah.
Have a good day, buddy. Appreciate you as always.
You too, man.
That's it for this episode of Uncanceled on KCMO Talk Radio. We'll be back again tomorrow. The Vince Show is coming up next on 95.7.